Welcome once again to Auto Mundial, the weekly home of all the latest motoring news and reviews. This week we compare two top-flight Grand Tourers, but can the three-pointed star out-GT the Prancing Horse?
We've also got two Japanese mid-size pickups looking to take on the established American manufacturers at their own game.
Plus, it's good news as Honda is bringing the Prelude name back from the dead. And better yet, it retains its lovable coupe form.
That's all coming up. First though, the news.
According to data reported by the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, UK vehicle production experienced a decline in July compared to the same period in 2023. Manufacturing plants across the country sent 65,478 vehicles out of the door across the seventh month of the year, a 14.4% drop year-on-year. Whilst production of vehicles intended for domestic registration fell by just over 5%, it was the export volumes that fell most, with a 16.3% decline, demonstrating slowing foreign demand. The reduced production numbers are mainly due to preparations for new models, according to the SMMT, though some temporary supply chain issues are also to blame. Despite car production slowing down in the UK, total output across the month of July is still calculated to be worth over £20 billion, near identical to last year, with average new car prices creeping up.
A higher-riding Clio, the Renault Captur is among the most popular of C-segment crossovers for its commendable value for money and decent space for a family of 5. But as time goes on and children grow longer legs, requiring more space, the Captur may become a tad small in the rear seats. When that time does come, the French manufacturer has a solution in its newest crossover, the SYMBIOZ. Essentially a longer Captur, the new model gets an extended rear overhang, lengthening the chassis by around 200mm. That translates to a bit more rear legroom and a slightly bigger boot, not only fitting a few more carry-on sized suitcases, but also longer items in an almost estate approach. In fact, that is how we see the newest Renault, as you will still struggle to tell the SYMBIOZ apart from the Captur. Look rearward, and the larger model does distinguish itself with sleeker taillights. Both get very similar styling, from the sharp front end to similarly low-slung roofs, giving them an agile appearance. That is also the case inside, where rather bland styling is the first sign that this is very much aiming at the more affordable end of the market. The 10.4-inch Central's touchscreen, running on Google's operating software, may stick out like a sore thumb, but everyone is now hovering their displays in front of the dashboard. A large sunroof counteracts the effect of claustrophobia one might experience in the back due to the car's sloping roof, so be sure to tick that option on your new Renault. In its current form, the SYMBIOZ only gets one available powertrain option, the so-called E-Tech 145, pairing a small 1.25 kilowatt battery with a 1.6 litre four-cylinder, the whole thing totalling 143 brake horsepower. Modest power and weighing just 1.5 tonnes, the C-segment Renault gets an impressive 60 mpg. Starting from just under £30,000, the SYMBIOZ certainly offers plenty of space for your money, but as a result, it will have to go up against some of the country's favourite budget models from Korea, namely the Hyundai Tucson.
And following a facelift earlier this year, it manages to pair cool exterior looks with an equally interesting cabin, unlike the Renault. Yes, compared to the bland lines and basic styling cues, the Tucson gets a rather pleasant interior space with its seamless air vent running along the dashboard, dual infotainment display and step dashboard. though we're not sure what to think of the steering wheel that appears to come from an ocean-crossing ship. As is tradition with these Korean models, the rest of the cabin is just as elegant, with nice plush chairs and almost ornate details. Moreover, with a very similar wheelbase to the SYMBIOZ, Hyundai's SUV is just as spacious for rear passengers and offers near identical boot space. The Tucson is available with a wide variety of powertrains, from the basic petrol burner to a hyper-efficient plug-in hybrid. A better rival to the Renault, however, would be the regular mild hybrid model, available in either 155 or 210 bhp form, though neither can quite match the SYMBIOZ fuel economy, lacking some 10 mpg. Starting at £33,000, it will also set you back a little more than the Renault, whilst the PHEV kicks off from just under £40,000. That being said, you'll surely struggle to notice the price gap when stretched over a multi-year financing deal. This would certainly be our pick between the two models, choosing to enjoy the performance and opulence that the Hyundai offers. However, if you're looking for a simple workhorse to complete your day-to-day commute, the Renault will also be a perfectly effective tool.
A homologation special rally car for the road, packing serious punch despite an unassuming first impression, the Toyota GR Yaris is one of the most popular driver's cars on the market today. But at its $45,000 market value, there is one issue with the popular hot hatch: it's a rather expensive Toyota Yaris. Then again, Lexus doesn't think that's quite enough money to be spending on a model built with rallying in mind, and has launched this. Sharing the GR Yaris's underpinnings and taking Toyota founder Akio Toyoda's racing pseudonym, this is the Lexus LBX MORIZO RR. Gone is the 140 horsepower hybrid 3-pot, and in its place sits the same turbocharged 1.6 litre unit from the Yaris. Though good for 300 brake, it gets America's GR Corolla tune. The same all-wheel drive layout and choice of 6-speed manual or 8-speed dual-clutch transmission complete the running gear, making for quite the impressive spec sheet. Indeed, despite its crossover stance, the MORIZO will reportedly complete the 0 to 60 sprint in 5.2 seconds, rivaling many supercars of just a decade ago. But it isn't just off the line that Lexus is boasting greatness for its newest model, thanks to highly developed suspension and braking systems, optimizing cornering feel according to the manufacturer. Inside, bucket seats and the odd Alcantara detail are the only major signs of any sporty character aboard this LBX. The rest of the cabin presents as a fancy place to be, with its chunky build mixing nice materials and the most modern of tech. But then that is the point. This is the GR Yaris for those looking to cross continents and then race up a mountain before parking in front of a fancy restaurant. Announced for production last month, the Lexus LBX MORIZO RR is not currently coming to the UK market. In Japan, it's set to cost the equivalent of £10,000 more than the now boring-looking Toyota GR Yaris.
Last year, Japanese manufacturer Honda lifted the covers on a concept showing its vision of the Prelude if it were to return to the modern car market. A swooping two-door coupe shape with sharp angles and cool looks, this was one example of a returning model name not growing to ungainly proportions. And not 1 year after its initial unveiling, Honda has announced that the concept will hit production, marking the rebirth of the Prelude name after some 23 years forgotten to the history books. Reportedly set to hit the market in 2025, the new shape Prelude will act as a halo product for Honda's lineup of hybrids. As a result, the sporty little coupe will get power from an as-yet unconfirmed hybrid unit, with the most likely option being the same twin-electric motor and 2-litre 4-pot pairing as found on the Civic. That particular model puts 184 brake horsepower through the front wheels, as Honda claims the new Prelude will focus on the driving experience rather than outright power. Who needs 500 brake horsepower on your local B road anyway? In this case, the upcoming Prelude will retain a character of coupes from time gone past, pairing mundane underpinnings with sporty looks and a touch of handling spice. Still very much presenting in concept form right now, we do look forward to seeing the Prelude return in full production specification with an interior to show off. But until then, there are plenty of exciting new cars in the here and now.
After the break, twin turbocharged V8s over 600 horsepower and stunning looks ×2.
Welcome back. Coming up, which Grand Tourer is the best for a trip to the French Riviera?
Load up and cruise to work. The pickup is without doubt the most popular vehicle shape in the United States of America. And whilst the numbers go on and on about the Ford F-150 being a bestseller, there are several other options available to those looking to go against the grain. A Japanese offering, the Nissan Frontier is one model that may not get the recognition of other products in class. But holding its place on the market for almost 3 decades, the mid-size pickup certainly holds its ground well. And for the 2025 model year, Nissan's take on the pickup is getting a refresh. A very minor case of new year, new me. Headlining the Frontier's new form are more capable underpinnings. Yes, the Frontier has been to the gym, meaning it can now tow 3¼ tons, some 200 kilos more than the outgoing model. The new Frontier also gets several interior enhancements, from this larger 12.3-inch touchscreen on certain trim levels to greater phone connectivity. That display sits nicely within the dashboard and forms part of a well-put-together cabin in our view. Plenty of robust buttons make controls easy to find, whilst higher trim levels like this Pro 4X get soft-touch details throughout. With chunky tyres, off-road suspension and the 3.8-litre 310 brake horsepower V6 under the bonnet that powers every edition of the new Frontier, it's this Pro 4X trim level that will best cope with the wild outdoors. Though realistically, most Frontiers will sell in basic workman specification, which still gets plenty of driver assist from lane departure warning to cruise control and blind spot warning. A well-equipped truck, the Nissan Frontier is expected to start around the $35,000 mark, making it quite the serious contender in class.
But also taking the fight to the truck market is Toyota with its Tacoma, and from a quick look you can tell that this is a showier model. Getting bulging arches and strong lines, the Toyota looks far more muscular than the Nissan. Furthermore, it gets a nice amount of bling in the form of its chrome grille and details on this limited trim level. However, that broad, rugged design doesn't quite translate to the specification sheet, as across the 4 powertrain offerings available with the Tacoma, just one outdoes the Nissan Frontier. A hybridized version of the 2.4-litre inline-4 puts out 326 brake horsepower, whilst other models sit around the 250 mark. As a result, the Tacoma will not tow quite as much as the new Frontier, matching capacities for the outgoing Nissan truck. However, you will fit around 50 kilos more in the Tacoma's bed versus the Frontier, good for a few extra tools. But beware when selecting your powertrain, as the hybrid, despite getting more power and better fuel economy, is rated to tow slightly less than the old-fashioned example. Inside, the flashy persona once again shines through on the Tacoma with thick, chunky design pieces that give the model a rugged feel. Certainly with a potentially nicer layout than in the Frontier, the Tacoma feels tidier inside. Although the 8-inch screen grows to an overwhelming 14 in higher trim levels like this Trail Hunter. So we would recommend going for a simpler entry-level model for daily work use. As with any mid-sized truck today, both the Toyota Tacoma and Nissan Frontier are available as either a single or double cab. Moreover, with both models hitting the market around the $35,000 mark, there is little to choose between them, bar their respective appeals. For the worker in need for a rugged truck for towing and transporting kit, the Nissan is surely the more practical. But if you want a bit more attention as you drive through town in comfort, perhaps the Toyota is the more lavish option.
Stunning flowing lines, a cabin over the rear wheels, and a lumbering power plant lying under a long bonnet, many will attest to the Ferrari's dominance in the Grand Tourer class over the years, and no less so than with its latest Roma. A sleek model with plenty of power and all the luxuries you would want from a modern-day prancing horse for the motorway, surely it is the Ferrari of all Grand Tourers.
But with impressive lineage, Mercedes' all-new AMG GT in 63 Pro form is looking to beat Italy at its own game, just like its predecessor did some 60 years ago. And taking a look at the elegant shapes that make up the newest GT to bear the three-pointed star, it's clear that Germany is serious in its quest. In its new form, the AMG GT gets far larger fascia details like the lengthened taillights and gaping front grille, better integrating the model alongside other modern Mercs. It still retains the same long bonnet it always had, whilst adding nicer curves and an overall less aggressive stance. We find the car more appealing in its new form, as a result having lost the untrustworthy look it had about it previously. But a 4-litre twin-turbo V8 good for 612 brake horsepower means the latest AMG model in Pro specification still rumbles and bellows like an active volcano. Unlike the outgoing GT, the new car gets 4MATIC all-wheel drive functionality. Meanwhile, active aero, rear-wheel steering and active suspension ensure full use of that power should come easily, even on wet British tarmac. Inside, like any modern Mercedes, passengers will have to face the blinding display of chrome details that give what is an elegant model from the outside a rather tacky interior feel. In fact, bar the larger 11.9-inch touchscreen sat on the centre console and unconventional bezel design hiding the driver's display, the cabin is perhaps overly similar to more run-of-the-mill Mercs like the A-Class. And when you're spending the £165,000 Mercedes is asking for its top-of-the-line GT, you might expect something more special.
There's no doubt that with a prancing horse crest on the steering wheel and the fanciest of upholstery decorating the cabin, the Ferrari Roma can provide just that. Unlike the Mercedes' gaudy cabin, the Italian Stallion is all about elegance with its sculpted dashboard, retro center console and gorgeously upholstered seats. Though despite a restrained look forward when it comes to design, you can't escape touchscreens in 2024, with the Roma's passengers getting their own display, for some reason. Much like the cabin, Ferrari's Grand Tourer separates itself from the AMG GT with a far smoother shape, running low to the ground, like a featherweight in the shadow of the heavyweight that is that Mercedes. Powering the Prancing Horse is, much like the Mercedes, a 612 brake horsepower turbocharged V8. Though in true Italian style, a high-pitched exhaust note replaces deep AMG burbles. In true retro style, the Roma sends all of its power to the rear wheels, though that does not hinder performance. That being said, these front-engine GT cruisers are not really about comparing the 0.2-second difference in 0 to 62 time, nor their circa 200 mph top speeds. What they're really all about is cruising around the French Riviera in extreme comfort, all while attracting the attention of those wishing they were you. With its class and looks, the Ferrari without question outcompetes the new AMG GT on those fronts, all for just £10,000 more. We think that's a rather simple decision to make, don't you?
With an Italian super coupe on our weekly shopping list, we will have to say goodbye. But do join us next time for a Ford pickup truck built for racing.